Concussions in professional sports have brought up major controversies for the welfare of athletes. This topic has transitioned from the professional sports world to all of youth sports.
The way people have been classically defining it was the bruise on the brain was the way we've been hearing about it for a while. I think we're starting to see that definition changing a little bit as any kind of brain injury. So concussion is kind of being a catch-all term of the traumatic brain injury, mild traumatic brain injury that we're talking about.
Concussion awareness has become increasingly more popular among high school athletes and younger kids. We have singled out students from the Pingree School to tell us their stories of dealing with their concussions.
My name is Allie Bisgay and I'm a senior at the Pingree School. Okay, so I got a concussion my sophomore year of high school playing soccer for Pingree, the varsity team. And I was out of school for 3 months. And it's about 2.5, almost 3 years later, and I still have some symptoms. So basically what was happening is I was dribbling down the field. I was tripped, my head hit the ground. I was kicked in the head, and then I had 2 girls follow me, so there's 4. I got up, kept playing. I was shoved in the back, my head hit the ground again. I got up, kept playing, and then I headed the ball. Finally, my coach pulled me out. And I guess I was playing on adrenaline because I felt fine a little bit for the most part. I was kind of crying on the field, but you're tough, you play through it. And then, so when my coach pulled me out, my vision completely went. I couldn't hold my head up. It wasn't great.
I'm Jimmy Toper, and I'm a student. A ground cross was coming in across the box, and I came out to slide and get it because I'm a goalie. And then when I went down to get it, someone else came in and tried to finish it and put it in. But then after like 2 weeks or so, I kind of started to feel good enough that I thought I could go back and play. And then so I started the concussion protocol here, and it was like basic stuff, just like biking and like light jogging on the treadmill. And I felt some like nausea and like my head kind of hurt, but I thought it was just fine, so I just assumed that I could like keep going. And then the same thing with the second one, which wasn't as bad, but then the third one, after I found out I couldn't play anymore competitively, I just took that one. I took slow, and I like treated that one honestly.
Jimmy's story is not uncommon with high school athletes. It has become a common trend for a competitive athlete to lie about their symptoms.
On the field and is minimizing their concussion, we've definitely seen that happen as well, where we've had kids who've told us, I feel terrible, or, I feel fine, especially with the adrenaline pumping in the middle of a game and all that, where, they know that they're going to be missing time if they tell me what's going on. It was kind of when New Jersey kind of took the lead in putting certain laws in place in terms of how much time someone will automatically have to miss if they have a concussion. Kids were initially really, really hesitant about even speaking up about it, especially football season, for example. Okay, football season, like, I'm guaranteed to almost miss 2 games just by having a concussion, at least 2 games, and that's a lot of time, and that's a lot of time being missed. And, I think kids were aware of that early on, but I think that's where the awareness and the education and, what are the long-term effects that we need to watch out for, and how am I trying to protect you by trying to get you to be honest with me. The way to try to alleviate that as much as possible, education, and in terms of doing an evaluation, removing them from the sideline, removing them from practice, removing them from where they are, bringing them into a quiet place, and doing an evaluation that way. The NHL actually has rooms set aside in their locker rooms specifically for concussion evaluations during games. They'll never do a concussion evaluation on a bench. They remove them. The only people allowed in that room are the athletic trainer, a physician if there's one there, and the injured athlete. And that's it. They're having a private conversation before they decide what they're going to do with that athlete. So getting them away from those pressures. I've had a lot of athletes who have downplayed things, but we can catch things in an objective way sometimes. And afterward, they'll come over and afterward be like, what, you were right, and I'm glad things went the way they did. One of the things that we talk about, as much as we want to win games and be a part of the team and everything else, like, my job in a lot of cases is to protect the athlete from themselves, just from the athlete's mentality, which you can appreciate as being an athlete that wants to compete, that wants to be on the field. But sometimes those athletes need to be safe for themselves.
I'm Chris Barbaro, and I'm a senior at Pingree. So I was playing, not playing hockey. I was on my club hockey team, and we were getting ready for a game. We were in the locker room, and I went to the bathroom for the game, and a kid was swinging a stick in the locker room, and he went back for like a slap shot, and he hit me right in the forehead. And then I fell back and hit my head on the bench, like where you change. And then I think I got knocked out because I don't really remember what happened. I just remember waking up in a pile of hockey bags, and people had like ice packs and like smelling salts. It was pretty crazy.
The recent trend is more concussions are being diagnosed. This has the commonality is the way that we're measuring or diagnosing concussions has changed. So we become more aware that concussions are a part of sport. What used to be, if you were considered knocked unconscious, would be a concussion. Now we know there's a lot more to it than that, and the diagnoses are more stringent, as they should be, because head trauma is a serious thing.
With the increase in diagnosis with concussions, there have been improvements in the recovery process.
The recovery process is a little bit different for each individual. In terms of how we handle them here, we take it step by step. So step one is monitoring symptoms. Whatever symptoms any person is having at any given time, we monitor those symptoms. So we actually have a symptom checklist that we go through where we try to meet with an injured individual daily to see how they're feeling day to day. After we see how they're feeling day to day, we monitor that until those symptoms essentially go away. Once those symptoms go away, we try to keep them completely asymptomatic for at least 7 days. And with their physician's clearance, then we can start to integrate them back into some physical activity a little bit at a time. We're seeing a shift now, again, into using exercise as a form of therapy, as opposed to looking at it as just a way to take a break from the concussion. So early on, the break time is important. But once we start seeing chronic symptoms, once they last a couple of weeks, a couple of months, we're finding that exercise is actually helping to move the concussion along in a positive way, as opposed to harming it in any way. Coupling that with the cognitive and academic rest at the same time too. So we use academic accommodations to allow for some cognitive rest for the brain as well, not just the physical rest of it anymore.
Well, directly after they rushed me to the ER, because it was just so bad that they're like, all right, this is not good. So then when I was there, they were scared that I had internal bleeding, so they had to do a CAT scan on me, which thankfully I did not have internal bleeding. That would have been really bad. So they sent me home that night, and basically I slept for 5 days straight, and I only got up to eat.
Surprisingly, it was pretty weird. I didn't feel any symptoms, and apparently that's totally normal. It was more like 3 days after the fact. I woke up one morning and I felt like I had an axe going through my head. It was the worst headache I've ever had. And my mom was like, oh, you're probably fine, just you have a headache, you're dehydrated, whatever. And I was like, no, this is totally different. But I took some Advil or Tylenol, didn't help. And it was so bad, I'd never been in that much pain, and I told my mom, and she called the pediatrician, and she told her, I'd gotten hit in the head, and she said, you should get an exam, you might have a concussion. And, we went to the doctor. It took, the what do you call it? The
Baseline test.
Yeah, I took the baseline test, and, had a concussion.
Definitely dizziness, kind of just out of it. My head didn't really hurt. It was more just I didn't really know what was going on, and everything was really confusing.
I mean, it was bad. There was some parts of my concussion that I don't even remember because my headaches were so bad that I just don't remember anything. But also psychologically, it was pretty bad. That was, after a while, it was more the psychological things that were getting to me than the actual pain. I just kind of dealt with it after a while.
Each athlete loves their sport in a special way. Each of them struggled, but eventually found something new that they are passionate about.
I don't know, it definitely took me a while, because when I was told I couldn't play soccer anymore, that was especially going into my junior year when I was maybe going to have a chance to play my senior year, being told I can't play that, kind of took a lot out of me. But then I just started, I focused more on golf, started doing that, and just found other interests.
I really thought that I was going to be able to come back and play again, which was kind of unrealistic. I would play soccer in order to like escape from everything else and like stress and like all of that. So I guess it's kind of the same. Like I can go do that when I run, but it's a little bit different because I don't see my team. It's like I don't see my team anymore, which is like kind of a family. So I kind of miss that still, but at the same time, I'd rather be doing something.
Yeah, so hockey was a big part of my life because I really loved being on a team and being a part of something bigger than myself. I always loved that feeling, right after warm-ups when you're huddled around the net saying, all right, we're going to take it to them this time, like we're all in it together. That was just really something special, and it was just a feeling you can't really ever get back unless you're a part of team sport. You can't really describe it unless you've experienced it. So at the time I was playing hockey, I was also super interested in music production. I was just kind of getting into it, and my jazz drumming was also just starting to take off. So once I recovered enough from the concussion, I really started to pursue the music production, and I was able to take it to a whole new level in the last year and a half, which is pretty crazy. I've had a serious social media following. I've done some serious gigs. Just got back from a tour in Miami, so yeah, things kind of took off, which was cool.
Creative and academic rest at the same time too. So we use academic accommodations to allow for some cognitive rest for the brain as well, not just the physical rest of it anymore.
All right. Do you think that the goal for the future should be to try and stop concussions from occurring, or simply raise awareness so injuries don't go unnoticed?
I think a balance of the two of those things. We're never going to fully prevent concussions from happening. There's always going to be something that's going to happen. No matter how many measures you take, your head and your brain are always going to be subject to some kind of damage, whether that be sports related, whether that be walking down the street and slipping on ice, whether that be a car accident. There's always the possibility of those things happening just because of the structure of our body. There are measures we can take to prevent them, to lessen the effects of them, and that's what is going to be important in terms of what we can try to do. But I also do think that the raising awareness about them and the importance of them and the importance of proper recovery from them is going to be the bigger picture of how this could be changed in the future. The more people that are aware of them and the severity of them and what to do when you have them, the better off we're gonna find that people are becoming. Where a lot of the long-term issues that we're seeing, CTE, for example, where we're seeing a lot of these types of long-term effects, are those occurring from multiple concussions, or are those occurring from concussions that aren't being treated properly? So given the proper recovery time between injuries, is that going to end up being more important than the injury itself?
These three have overcome their injuries, and the goal for them now is to raise awareness for the future.